Warren, how would you define true success?
Well, I've said many times that if you get to be 65 or 70 and later, and the people that you want to have love you actually do love you, you're a success. I've never seen anybody that reaches that age. I mean, I'm not talking about somebody that's in extreme poverty or pain or something, but I've never seen anybody that, if they have a lot of people that love them, that is other than happy. And I've seen some very, very wealthy people that they give testimonial dinners to and name schools after and everything. And nobody loves them, you know. Their own kids would say, he's in the attic, you know. But he never came.
What are, say, 3 pieces of advice you would give to people who are looking to succeed in business?
Well, by far the best investment you can make is in yourself. I mean, for example, communication skills. I tell the students that come that they're going to graduate schools and business, and they're learning all these complicated formulas and all that. If they just learn to communicate better, and both in writing and in person, they increase their value at least 50%. And, I mean, if you can't communicate, somebody says, you know, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens, you know, basically. And you have to be able to get forth your ideas, and that's relatively easy. I did it myself with the Dale Carnegie course. Some people wish I'd taken a shorter course now in terms of my talking later on, but it's just hugely important. And if you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you. I mean, the second thing, which I'll get a certain criticism for not living it, but I do tell those students, you know, that if I gave you a car and it'd be the only car you get in the rest of your life, you take care of it like you can't believe. Any scratch, you'd fix that moment. You read the owner's manual, you keep a garage and do all these things, and you get exactly one mind and one body in this world. And you can't start taking care of it when you're 50. By that time, you'll have rusted out if you haven't done anything. So you should really make sure that you just remember that you just got one mind and body to get through life with and to do the most with it.
In the heart of Omaha, Nebraska, where the winds carry whispers of ambition and the soil hums of the dreams of a nation, a titan stood before thousands, his voice steady, his eyes sharp with the weight of decades. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, the man who turned pennies into empires, declared at the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting on a crisp May morning in 2025 that he would step down as CEO by year's end. At 94, his words landed like a thunderclap, not because they were unexpected, but because they marked the end of an era that began when a boy sold gum on street corners and grew to command a $1.1 trillion empire. Greg Abel, his chosen successor, would take the helm, pending the board's approval, and Buffett vowed to hold every share of Berkshire, his faith unshaken in the company he forged. As the crowd rose in a wave of applause, the air crackled with reverence, not for wealth alone, but for a life that redefined what it means to see the world not as it is, but as it could be. This is no mere corporate shuffle, no quiet passing of a baton. This is the closing of a chapter written in the ink of audacity, where a child of the Great Depression dared to dream bigger than the world around him. Buffett was born in 1930, in a nation clawing its way out of despair, where breadlines stretched longer than hope. At 6, he sold chiclets and Coca-Cola door to door, his tiny hands grasping not just coins but a truth. Value lies in what you build, not what you're given. By 11, he bought his first stock, 3 shares of City Service at $38 each, only to sell at $40, a $6 profit that taught him patience when he later saw those shares soar to $200. It was a lesson carved into his soul. The world rewards those who wait, who see beyond the flicker of the moment, like Edison, who failed 1,000 times before lighting the world, or Ford, who built a machine to carry the masses. Buffett understood that wealth is not a sprint but a marathon, run with eyes fixed on the horizon. Omaha was his crucible, a city of grit and heart, where his father, Howard Buffett, a stockbroker turned congressman, instilled in him a love for numbers and a disdain for pretense. At 13, Warren delivered newspapers for the Washington Post, his bicycle wheels spinning through the dawn, earning $2,000 by 15. Enough to buy a 40-acre farm in Nebraska. This was no boy's whim. It was a declaration. While his peers chased fleeting thrills, Buffett planted seeds, his mind a ledger of possibilities. By 20, with $5,000 saved, he stood at the gates of Columbia Business School, learning from Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing, whose teachings were like scripture to a young man hungry for wisdom. In 1956, with $100 of his own money, he launched Buffett Partnership, a spark that would ignite a revolution. 9 years later, he took control of a struggling textile mill called Berkshire Hathaway, a decision that seemed foolish to many but became the cornerstone of a legacy. What is legacy, if not the courage to reshape the world? Berkshire was no textile empire. It was a canvas for Buffett's vision, painted with the bold strokes of a man who saw value where others saw risk. With his partner Charlie Munger, he transformed it into a colossus, acquiring See's Candies, staking billions in Coca-Cola, American Express, and Apple. Each move was a bet on America, on its ingenuity, its resilience. Like Carnegie, who forged steel to bind a nation, or Disney, who spun dreams into empires, Buffett built not just wealth but philosophy. Invest in what endures. By 2025, Berkshire's market cap stood at $1.1 trillion, a testament to a man who turned a failing factory into a mirror of the American spirit. His wealth, $169 billion, according to Bloomberg, made him the world's fifth richest man. But it was his clarity, his refusal to chase fads, that made him a sage. Yet, even sages face storms. At the 2025 meeting, Buffett spoke of turbulence, not in his heart, but in the world he navigated. Berkshire's operating earnings fell 14% in the first quarter. Its insurance arm slashed nearly in half, from $2.6 billion to $1.33 billion. The specter of tariffs, a policy championed by President Donald Trump, loomed large. Buffett, ever the contrarian, called the trade war a big mistake, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. Commerce shouldn't be a weapon, he said, warning that tariffs could wound not just Berkshire, but the global economy. Commerce, he argued, is a bridge, not a battering ram. His words echoed Lincoln, who sought to bind a fractured nation, not divide it. America won, Buffett declared, his voice rising, because we did what we do best and let others do the same. The crowd roared, not just for his wisdom, but for his faith in a nation that rose from nothing to everything in 250 years. Faith, though, is not blind. Berkshire's quarterly report was blunt. Tariffs and geopolitical shifts could erode profits, clouding the future. The company sat on a mountain of cash, $347 billion, up from $334.2 billion. A war chest, Buffett admitted, was hard to deploy. It won't happen tomorrow, he said, or even in 5 years. Yet he remained unshaken, his philosophy rooted in discipline, not impulse. Like a farmer waiting for rain, he knew timing was everything. We've made a lot of money by not investing all the time, he said, a reminder that restraint is as powerful as action. This was no retreat. It was strategy, the kind that saw him invest $10 billion recently, though he kept the details close, a chess master guarding his next move. The stage in Omaha was more than a platform. It was a cathedral of capitalism, dubbed the Woodstock for capitalists. Thousands gathered, not just shareholders but pilgrims, drawn to a man whose life was a sermon on purpose. Buffett, flanked by security and reporters, moved through the Cheat Health Center with the ease of a prophet in his homeland. The exhibit hall buzzed with Berkshire's empire: Geico, Dairy Queen, Clayton Homes, each a thread in a tapestry of American life. You could drive a car insured by Geico, eat ice cream at Dairy Queen, and sleep in a Clayton home powered by Berkshire Energy, all under Buffett's watchful eye. Yet, he admitted the empire's size was its own burden. "We're too big," he'd said in years past, a giant struggling to dance like it once did. Still, the faithful came, clutching limited edition merchandise, snapping photos, seeking a glimpse of the man who taught them to see wealth not as money, but as wisdom. Wisdom, though, demands succession. Greg Abel, 62, sat beside Buffett, his presence a quiet promise. Born in Edmonton, Alberta, Abel rose through Berkshire's ranks, now chair and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Energy and vice chair of non-insurance operations. Named Buffett's heir in 2021, he was no stranger to the spotlight, yet his humility shone. Asked to describe himself, he spoke of active engagement with Berkshire's leaders, a man who asks questions, listens, and acts. Buffett, with a twinkle in his eye, praised Abel's work ethic. "Greg does better than I did," he said, "because I don't work as hard as he does." It was a torch passed not with fanfare but with trust, the kind forged between men who build, not boast. Abel's style, curious, deliberate, mirrored Buffett's, yet carried a vigor that promised evolution, not imitation. Evolution, though, is fraught with questions. Could Abel steer a ship as vast as Berkshire? Could he match the Oracle's knack for seeing value in chaos? Buffett's confidence was unwavering. "You need someone who behaves well at the top," he said, "and Greg does something about it." This was no corporate platitude. It was a creed. Buffett's life was a testament to integrity, through the Salomon Brothers scandal in 1991, where he restored trust as interim chairman, to his pledge to give away most of his wealth through the giving pledge with Bill Gates. Like Trump, who reshaped politics with unyielding conviction, Buffett reshaped investing with unyielding principles. Abel, he believed, would carry that mantle, not as a shadow, but as a steward of a legacy that transcended wealth. The world beyond Omaha, however, churned with uncertainty. Markets swung wildly. The S&P 500 teetering at 5,686.67, a far cry from its March low. Buffett dismissed the volatility as nothing dramatic, his calm a beacon in the storm. But the federal deficit, $1.8 trillion and climbing, drew his scrutiny. Quoting economist Herbert Stein, he warned, "If something can't go on forever, it won't." The deficit, he said, was unsustainable, a ticking clock that Congress seemed ill-equipped to stop. Trump's appointment of Elon Musk to lead a Department of Government Efficiency sparked debate, but Buffett sidestepped dogma. "It's a job I wouldn't want," he said, "but it needs doing." His words were not partisan. They were pragmatic, a call for courage in a nation teetering between abundance and recklessness. Courage, after all, defined Buffett's life. From a boy who invested in a farm to a man who dined with presidents, he never wavered. His first marriage to Susan in 1952, his 3 children, his second marriage to Astrid, each was a thread in a life woven with purpose. He faced prostate cancer in 2012 with the same resolve that saw him testify before Congress during the financial crisis, earning the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2011 from Barack Obama, who called him not just rich but admired. Buffett's wealth was not his triumph. His impact was, he taught a generation to invest not in stocks, but in themselves, to see opportunity where others saw obstacles, to build not for today, but for tomorrow. As the Omaha sun set on May 4th, 2025, Buffett stood before his flock, his voice a blend of gravel and grace. He thanked Tim Cook, whose apple steak enriched Berkshire, and reflected on a nation that rose from zero to greatness. "We're not in a bear market," he said, his optimism a defiance of doubt. The crowd hung on his words, not because he was rich, but because he was right. Right about value, about patience, about America. Greg Abel, watching from his side, was not just a successor but a symbol. The future is not inherited. It is earned. Buffett's departure was no end, but a beginning, a challenge to a world that still believes in dreams. And as the applause faded, one truth lingered. The Oracle of Omaha had not just built an empire, he had awakened souls, proving that the greatest wealth is the courage to see what others cannot.